course, language is also a lived practice. You know, you speak the language, you interact with each other, you engage with one another and with the world through the language. That's a different thing. But this is what a language is. It's not merely utilitarian. You know, it is. It holds many things. So literary translation involves the rendering. Let us say at its most basic, it involves rendering a literary text in the source language into a literary text in the target language. Okay. So this is what the basic process of literary translation. But you know, the thing is that it's not just the text that is being translated, because you know, a machine can do that. You know, which if it is just sort of semantic equivalent, a machine can produce it. But what the translator produces is the text produced by a translator. It contains not just what the text on the surface says, but also the life that is lived in the text, the history that lies behind it, the landscape, the struggle, you know, the ways of living, the struggle, and then the family, the culture, cultural practices, that whole thing. You know, there are a number of stories, and between them they cover all this, right? So,
after the page, and then the biodata, your own biodata, and the author's biodata, and then to present it to the publisher. You know, in the sense that in India at least, you have no say. The publishers kind of put themselves on a pedestal when you're dealing with them, even though you have a contractual relationship. But you know, it is because they bring in the money and they are, you know, they have the financial stake. So it is, you have to sort of play it by the way they want. I mean, rightly or wrongly, and maybe because you don't know the trade. I mean, you don't know the trade at all. You're a translator, or so you just go by what they do, and they have a say in, you know, who they will assign for your, you know, for editing your audition, and you can't really say no to that. Or you know, they have a kind of unilateral thing on scheduling your work. So there's a lot of so which is why I operate only through an agent. It's not good for my nerves to deal with them directly. No, honestly, I mean, that's a problem. But you know, I can't go to them and say that give me an editor who knows Tamil. You know, and they won't. I mean, they say what's with you, you know. So you can't do that. So
I just came from the literary festival, and I just was having a chat with one of the writers over there. And I think she said something which I thought was really, really struck me as amazing. And she was like, and she came back to this whole thing about reaching out to journals and having yourself published in any way and any form. And she said that it's really, really important for writers to have that connect with their audiences and get that feedback from their audiences. And sometimes as a writer, when you have a book, then that, you know, there's a bigger gap between your audience and you. But when you have, you're writing for a journal, that gap, that connection between you and the audience is much shorter. So it's closer there. So I think that is something that really will help you develop. Also, because the turnout time is also, you're not sitting and doing an entire tome and waiting for the response, but you actually, you know, working with a smaller piece and you're getting that response. So your personal growth happens there. Another thing that Carmen and I had a conversation yesterday about translations, and I think the really important thing over there is the really in-depth knowledge of both the languages, because both the languages come from very different cultures and very different cultural norms. So someone who's reading in English will probably relate to a story in a very different way and that person is influenced by their own experiences and their own cultural kind of backdrop. So to understand that and the base language and base culture, which makes your life just really so difficult. It makes your what you are bringing to the table, so much more complex and difficult. And then it disheartened me when I heard Amendra say that it's the original author who's more important than the translator, because the translator is doing a very, very hard job. So, yeah, but that is the way it is.
Sometimes some people come to us with the book being translated, but they have not obtained the translation rights. So it's not that easy to get the translation rights. First, if you are interested in a particular book, find who's the literary agent of the book, the publisher, write to them, and then get the translation rights before you start anything. Because publishing a book without translation rights is illegal. So, yeah, so that's very important. And also there's one thing that I want to share, one of very recent translation experience I had actually translating our translatore's Hungry Ghost book. Hungry Ghost book. So this particular translator has omitted a whole set of very important part of the book, just thinking that it is inappropriate for the Sri Lankan market. So I got to know about it very late, but then it was also already printed. We had to discard all that because it was our mistake as a publisher, because you have to be faithful to the original work.
So what's your process? Is there someone at the publishing house that's checking the quality of the translation?
There is. So usually once when somebody comes with the manuscript or a translation or interest, if they show the interest, we check who has the rights for the translation. So then we sometimes get the translation to Saraswati, and then we get like a chapter or two done. And then we work with another experienced translator to edit the work. And this experienced translator will work closely with the new translator and give guidelines. At the moment, that is happening with Andrew Fidel's Upon Sleepless Isle, which is a Grecian winner. So we are trying to translate Upon Sleepless Isle. So they work together, and like chapter by chapter very closely, the senior translator, the translator and the author, all three has to agree upon it. So that's the ideal case.